Hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting. My name is Carl Froch. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a former unified super middleweight world boxing champion and International Boxing Hall of Famer. This episode is brought to you by Cobra Casino. Right, so today we're going to do a Q&A. It's been a while since we've done one, so let's get straight to it. So the first question, actually it's current affairs, it's relevant. What do you make of Usyk v Parker being ordered by the WBO? And do I want to see that fight? Listen, Usyk-Parker fight, I think is a good fight. Parker's on a bit of a roll. He's just beaten Martin Bakole. That was a great knockout. I know Bakole was flying in late from the Congo and he was tired, but that shot on the top of his head sent his equilibrium and he got stretchered and he got ironed out. It was all over the place. The fight had to be stopped. So although it was a good win for Parker, he's not going to get great credit for it. But do I want to see Parker in the ring with Usyk rather than Dubois against Usyk? Listen, if Dubois still got the IBF, which he has, if Dubois got the IBF title, that becomes a unification fight. But if Usyk's going to lose the WBO, if you don't defend against Parker, it takes away the unification edge. So I think the fight I'd rather see would be Dubois-Usyk. But Parker deserves his shot. It was Dubois that pulled out the Parker fight, and Parker's had a good win against Bakole. So I feel that Parker deserves his shot. I don't give Parker much of a chance to beat Usyk. Look at what Usyk's done. Usyk's done AJ twice, and he's beat Fury twice. So you can't really say that Joseph Parker has got a great deal of a chance against somebody like Usyk. You never know timing. If Usyk's getting old and Parker's on a bit of a crest of a wave doing well, it will make for an interesting fight. And, you know, I'd like to see Parker get his shot, get a bit of the old bunts. He deserves it. But I'll be honest, I would rather see Dubois Usyk. I think that's a more interesting fight. I think Dubois has got more of a chance against Usyk. He dropped him down. I know it was a body shot, stroke, low blow, depending on which side of the fence you're on. But it was a good fight. Dubois has improved since. Usyk's getting older. Obviously, they're both getting older, but Usyk's old. He's 36 years old. And Daniel Dubois is in the prime of his career at 27 years old. So I think Dubois gives Usyk more of a challenge than Parker. But my heart's saying, give Parker his shot. He deserves it. But it's interesting. If the WBO are going to take the title off Usyk, and the Dubois fight, as I've already said, is not a unification fight, maybe give Parker his shot, and then Dubois can then step in and fight the winner of that. But I think the massive favourite, like I've already said, is Usyk if he's fighting Parker. So Alexander Usyk's got a decision here to make. Does he vacate the WBO and maybe fight Dubois? Or does he fight Parker for the WBO? He's been ordered to do that. That's what really he should do if he wants to keep hold of his titles. I think he'll probably vacate and hopefully, if he does vacate, fight Daniel Dubois, because that is a rematch that I think most boxing fans do want to see. Let me know in the comments who you want to see Usyk fight next, and do you think he should vacate or not? And if Usyk does vacate, then who does Parker fight? I mean, I'd like to see Parker fight somebody like AJ. I think that's a good win for Parker, to be honest. I think AJ's finished. I think AJ's well past his best. I don't think his mind's in it. I just think he's finished. And I'm not being an AJ hater. I'm just being honest. He's been ironed out a couple of times, and he's not showing any kind of signs of wanting to come back. He was hanging around there for the Fury fight, but the Fury fight's probably not going to happen. Fury seems to be digging his heels in and staying retired. We never know what's going to happen there. So that first question brings me nicely onto the second question. It's about Daniel Dubois. Question number 2 is, what has happened to Daniel Dubois? He hasn't said a word since pulling out against Parker. Now, don't forget, Dubois was supposed to fight Parker in his last fight, and he pulled out. And I don't think that Daniel Dubois would have pulled out the Parker fight worried that he's not going to win. I don't think it was much of a banana skin, as they say. I think it would have been a steady win for him. I know Parker's doing well, and we all like Parker, and he's performed in his last few fights. And he gives anybody a hard fight, let's be honest. But I just think Daniel Dubois would have been confident. But his team, his management team, or his trainer, whoever's around him might have thought, hang on a minute, the Usyk fight's here. That's the big fight. And he may have been hanging around for that one. But like I said, it was a big payday for him, Parker. Another not a tune-up fight, but another fight at world level that would have got him ready for the Usyk fight. So where has he gone? I don't know. Let me know in the comments where you think Daniel Dubois has gone. I don't think he would have pulled out that fight, like I've said, because he didn't think he could win. But he's not said a word since pulling out. We've not heard from him. Usually we see some interviews or we hear some snippets or something gets reported. But Daniel Dubois has completely gone missing. It's a little bit worrying, to be honest, because he's at this prime of his career now where he's IBF champion and we want to see him active. We do want to see him. We would like to see him in that rematch against Alexander Usyk. But since pulling out of Parker, all we can do is guess. Where is he? What's he doing? If anybody knows, anybody close to Park, anybody close to Dubois, anybody understands or has got any inside info, let us know in the comments, because we don't know where Daniel Dubois has vanished to. So the next question is boxing broken? And my answer to that would be yes and no. Nobody wants to hear yes and a no. But let me explain. I can understand people that kind of think that boxing's a broken sport in the sense that the best don't always fight the best. And until Turki Al-Sheikh got involved, I honestly don't think that Tyson Fury would have fought Alexander Usyk. He's fought him twice because he's been paid well. And that's the reason the fights have happened. So without the Saudi insertion, then we may have not got them fights. So in that sense, it's broken. You've got promotional divides, you've got TV broadcaster divides, who does the pay-per-view. The pay-per-views now are actually sharing. So Sky Sports will put it on their pay-per-view, DAZN will put it on theirs, TNT will have theirs, the old BT Sport. So they all split the pay-per-view up and it all goes into one pot, which never used to happen until recent years. More so now with the promoters working together, the broadcasters working together. That's just because of Turki Al-Sheikh from Saudi Arabia. So I suppose the people that say boxing's broken in that sense, Dana White saying it's broken, is just talking about the fights not getting made and the best not fighting the best, and the fact that there's 3 or 4 major titles, IBF, WBC and WBA. They're the ones behind you, look. See the red and the 2 green ones and the black one? They're the major belts. There's also a WBO belt that nobody really cares about, and certainly didn't until Floyd Mayweather won the title many years ago. But the 4 major belts, and the problem with that is you can have 4 champions in each division, as opposed to the UFC, where you've got 1 champion. Look at, I don't know, you've got Tom Aspinall now wanting to fight John Jones. John Jones is the champ. And I suppose I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, because Tom Aspinall is the interim champ, but he's the heavyweight interim champ, and John Jones is the actual champ. But there's 1 champ in each division for the UFC, and it's nice to know who's the main man in that division. And with the boxing different sanctioning bodies, you've got 3 or 4 champions that are recognised in each division, and it can be a bit confusing for the layman fan and a bit annoying, but it just keeps people busy, keeps them going. And then we have the undisputed fights where all 4 belts are unified, and then there's your 1 champion. But they don't happen often enough, and if the money's not there, it can be a pain in the arse. But is boxing broken? It's one of them, innit? It depends how you look at it. Can Dana White clean it up? Is it going to be good for the sport? Potentially. If we've got a league in boxing, like they have a league in the UFC, like the best fight the best, the top 5 or the top 10 have all got a ranking point system, and there's 1 champion, and I think it's going to be probably the Ring Magazine champion. Don't know how all the other sanctioning bodies are going to feel about that. WBC, WBA and IBF, they're all going to be a little bit pissed off if they get frozen out of the mix and all the fighters come along to this Turki Al-Sheikh Saudi Arabian boxing league with the Ring Magazine, if you like. That's what it will be. I mean, I think it will take a long time to evolve. All the top fighters like Canelo Alvarez and Tyson Fury's retired, but all the champions in each division, all the best fighters in the division, aren't going to all of a sudden jump into a league unless they're getting paid big bunts. And the Saudis aren't actually paying as much money as they used to pay. They overpaid to start with, which they did early on, but now they've got the feet under the table and they know how to, they've evolved, they know how to run the boxing, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to take over. Now they're not paying as much. It's interesting, but the fighters will still get paid very well in the league format. I think when the league format eventually takes over, if it does, it'll be better for boxing in the long run. But in the interim, in the short term, the best fighters in each division are going to want paying the most. So it's going to be a phasing out of the older generation. And when the new generation of fighters come through in the league format, I think that could end up being a cleaner, easier, more fan-friendly sport. But it's going to take a few years. So, yes, in a sense, Dana White's right. It's a bit of a long-winded way of explaining it, wasn't it? Dana White's right in saying that boxing maybe is broken in the sense that the best don't always fight the best. But I love the sport. We get some great fights. And when the best end up fighting the best, we get really excited and we get a massive night. 80,000 at Wembley Stadium. We've seen the TNT in America filled out. We've seen these big venues absolutely packed to the rafters. I mean, it's not always for the titles. You've got Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fighting soon at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and that's going to be the biggest event, one of the biggest events this year. It's massive, and it's for no titles. So in boxing, we're all about not just the best fighting the best. We're all about seeing the fights that excite us and get the juices flowing and capture the public's imagination. So it's not always about the titles. It's not always about the best fighting the best, because these two aren't the best in their divisions, are they? Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn haven't won a title between them, but we want to see this fight. The general public want to see it, and that's when you get these big events. And that might not happen with a league format. So boxing isn't broken, but there's a lot that can be done to make the best fight the best. But listen, I love the sport. I'm a massive fan of the sport. And I just think that somebody coming in like Dana White with Turkey Al-Sheikh trying to do a league, I think it's a positive move forward for the future generations in terms of getting the right fights, getting paid, and having some kind of structure within the sport. But I don't think there's a fix for professional boxing. Fighters, promoters, it's been referred to as the vestige remains of the Wild West, the professional game. So many people can get involved without any qualifications on a trainer level, on a manager level. You get so many chances and bullshitters and fucking knobheads. You know who you are, you know what I'm talking about. And they're involved in the sport. And you think, how has he got in that corner? How is he managing that guy? What the fuck does he know? But it happens in boxing. It doesn't happen in football or tennis, but it happens in boxing. So you never know. Dana White and Turkey Al-Sheikh might just clean the sport up from that sense. Right, next question. Chris Eubank Jr. slapped with a £100,000 fine for egging Conor Benn. He didn't just egg him, did he? He smacked him around the face with a raw egg, covered him in yolk. What are my thoughts? Right, £100,000 fine for me seems a bit steep. Feels like it's a bit over the top. The British Boxing Board of Control, they will probably look at it case by case. You couldn't just fine a British title fighter if he slaps an egg around somebody's face. You couldn't fine him 100 grand because he wouldn't have 100 grand for a start, and he wouldn't be earning nowhere near that. So it's obviously means tested. They'll realise that this fight's a massive fight. Turkey Al-Sheikh's involved. It's on pay-per-view, so they've done it. They've done it sort of to scale of the magnitude of the event, haven't they? So it's a bit of a kick in the balls, really, 100 grand fine. But like Chris Eubank Jr. said, worth every penny. They were his words. So what he means by that is the amount that would have sold and promoted the fight and upped the pay-per-view is 100 grand well spent. Obviously, he'll benefit from it, and Conor Benn will benefit from it, and everybody involved. I don't particularly think it's right that he's got 100 grand fine. I think it's a bit over the top. But like I've said, listen, the British Boxing Board of Control are there to keep the world of boxing being brought from disrepute, stop it from being brought into disrepute. And if somebody comes along and slaps somebody in the face at a press conference and the world's watching and they start rolling around on the floor, they start shouting and screaming, it looks like really aggressive and horrible. It's supposed to be a disciplined sport, and it's supposed to be composure, controlled discipline, and you're supposed to have dignity and pride within the sport and respect for each other. That all goes out the window when you start smacking someone around the chops with an egg. So I can see what the board have done. I do think it's a little bit excessive, but he'll make it back. So there's not really much more I can say about that one. £100,000 egg. That was an expensive egg. Hope it was organic. Next question. Andre Ward, Joe Calzaghe. I've seen Andre Ward and Joe Calzaghe actually on Instagram lately. I think Ward's doing a little tour and he's in... What is he doing? I don't even know what he's doing, but he's in Wales with Joe Calzaghe. Both look well. Ward looks quite heavy, but he's quite a big lad anyway. And Calzaghe looks pretty well. But anyway, who wins? If them two would have fought, who wins? That would have been one hell of an interesting fight. Joe Calzaghe, fast hands, high work rate, slaps a little bit. I've been watching highlights of him against Jeff Lacey, and he was slapping with the inside of his gloves a lot. Lots of fast, light-handed shots. I think his hands were that badly damaged late on in his career. He used to use the inside of his glove a little bit to save his hands, which would have been horribly painful and such a big hindrance when you're fighting, when you've got a painful hand. I've fought a couple of times with a broken hand. I've had injections in my hand before the fight because of an injury as well. And it's not nice when your hands are hurting, so I can kind of empathise with Joe Calzaghe getting in there and throwing a few slaps. But I don't think them hand slaps and them fast hands would have worked against Andre Ward. Andre Ward's tricky, awkward, horrible. Listen, I'd have liked to see Joe Calzaghe set about Andre Ward and beat him on point, slap him up and just get him out of there, because Ward's style is annoying but effective. He's very, very good at what he does. He knows how to win. But it's not a fan favourite. It's not a good style to watch, Andre Ward. He knows what to do to win, but he ducks low below the waist. He holds on. He gets his head on your chest. He ties you up. You see Ward against me. I don't know if you saw that fight, but that was a messy, horrible, tricky fight. You see him against Mikel Kessler, and he uses his head a lot. Headbutts him that much, give him like 50-odd stitches. He low blows against Kovalev. I just think that Andre Ward can be it's a bit of a cheaty type style. Like, I don't want to say it's a cheat, but 3 low blows on Kovalev's groin, and then the fight gets stopped. All the headbutts in Kessler's face. So a part of me would have liked to see Joe Calzaghe put it on him, set about him and get him beat. But Andre Ward's a very clever fighter, very good up close. I think he was the high school wrestling champion in America. So he's got that, he knows how to tie you up and negate you and use his weight to his advantage and maneuver you around. So it would have been a great fight. And I probably got to say that Andre Ward, he don't know how to lose. I think Andre Ward would have beat Joe Calzaghe, but it would have been one hell of a fight. It would have been close, similar to mine and Andre Ward's. 115, 113 on 2 scorecards. It doesn't get much closer than that, does it? Would have been a close fight, but I'll pick Ward to win that one. So the next question is from Big Jim from Blackpool. He's asked 2 questions, actually. He said, last week I mentioned the biggest knobheads in boxing. What about the best people that I've come across in boxing, in and out of the ring? So the best people within boxing. So I had a little think about this one before I looked at this. After I looked at this question, I wrote a few down because there's quite a lot of names that stick out. Obviously, the first person that I've met in boxing and that got me into professional boxing was Robert McCracken. I met him in Ireland when I boxed at the Odyssey Arena in Belfast in 2001, and I was the first Englishman to medal in that tournament ever, in the history of ever, making history again. But yeah, Rob McCracken, he's my guy. And then there's trainers like Joe Gallagher I've worked closely with. He was sound. Tony Sims, he was in my corner. Mark Seltzer, Lester Diamond. He's a good guy. He's been around for years. Then you've got the press, Mike Costello, Steve Bunce, Big Ronald McIntosh, Adam Smith, colleague and friend. Matthew Macklin, there's a guy called Manvir Rai. A lot of people won't know who that is, but he's good at what he does. Don't let anybody slip under the radar. So many boxers as well. David Hay, Tony Bellew, Johnny Nelson, Carl Frampton. Absolutely no promoters, none whatsoever. I'll let you work out why. But yeah, there's a lot of people that have become friendly with me, and if I've missed anybody out, you know if you're my friend, you know if I've got love for you, it's there. And Mikhail Kessler as well, a guy I've boxed twice. He's a top guy, cut from the same cloth as me. But yeah, good question. Yeah, and the second question Big Jim asked was, can I get Mikhail Kessler on the show? Now, I probably can get Mikhail Kessler on. We keep in touch. He was talking about an exhibition fight a few months ago, and then he sent me one back with an emoji of him sweating, because he knows if he was going to go in with a ring with a Cobra again, it'd be a serious fight. Even with 16-ounce gloves as an exhibition, I don't think we could take our time. First man that lands a hard blow, the gloves are off and it's all-out war. But to be honest, I don't want to be fighting again. I certainly don't want to be punching Kessler or receiving any punches from Mikhail Kessler. But there's another very good friend, and I will try and get him on the show. He's very busy. He's got his family out in Denmark, and he's very busy doing what he's doing. But he's always got time for the Cobra. So I will make a point of hopefully getting Kessler on over the next couple of weeks for sure. So that brings me on to my next question. We're getting there. The penultimate question. Roy Munson, fuck off. Anyway, he's asked, Carl, what are your memories from your training camp in Ireland? Listen, I was in the training camp in Castlebar, County Mayo. I've got such fond memories of that place because the camp was for my first world title fight. It was in my head. I was so focused and tunnel vision. But one memory was sparring with Louis Garcia, running rings around me for 3-4 rounds. A Cuban, ex-amateur, very fast, very sharp, top amateur. And he was so hard, I couldn't get near him. He was hitting me with uppercuts. He was tapping his foot, showing off. And it was just so hard. But after 2 or 3 rounds, I was getting to him, closed the gap, started to drill him around the body. Then he started to tire. But fair play to him, he stayed in there for 6, 7, sometimes 8 rounds. So sparring with him, Louis Garcia, that was big memory. Watching Tyson Fury, who was on that camp as well, because he was on the undercard for my first world title fight, he was sparring Mike Perez. And that was a great sparring. Them 2 fighters came over from Cuba, Garcia and Perez, and me and Tyson Fury was sparring both of them. Another massive memory is running down them country lanes, chasing John O'Donnell, an ex-fighter, and Darren Barker. We know dazzling Darren Barker, former IBF middleweight champion. He can run like a gazelle, same as John O'Donnell. I can remember chasing them down the country lanes, never being able to catch up with them. I thought I was a good runner. Well, I wasn't a bad runner. For a 12-stone fighter, I could run, but I could never catch them. But it wasn't for not trying. I was trying every single day to catch them on the runs, getting closer and closer, but I never quite caught them before the end of this 6-mile run. But trying to catch them absolutely exhausted me, blown a gasket every day on them runs, and that was the reason I was so fit for that 12-round war, 12-round toe-to-toe with Jean Pascal. So it's just a lovely place, Castlebar, County Mayo in Ireland. So the sparring, and then the run-in with Darren Barker and John O'Donnell. Memories I will never forget, and because that was the build-up to my first world title fight, they're just fond memories of Ireland. And Roy Munson as well. Munson is a character, Woody Harrelson, I think he played alongside Bill Murray in a film called The Kingpin. If you've not seen it, you need to see it. They've both got comb-overs, and it's just such a funny film. But this guy's name's never fucking Roy Munson, but yeah, fair play to him. So, final question. Gupta, 1, 2, 3. I thought I was getting his... Yeah, nice name, mate. Anyway, is it true Michael Bisping will be appearing on Froch on Fighting imminently? Listen, I've been in touch with the man himself, the Count. This guy is an absolute hard motherfucker. GSP, I see him choke out Bisping, and Bisping refused to tap. He got caught with a shot, got knocked on the floor. It was a great fight, by the way, as well. If you've not seen it, get a look at it. He's on the floor, Bisping, and he's defended himself. The referee really could have jumped in, but he didn't. And he must know that Bisping's a hard motherfucker. And he was defending shots, but getting caught. And then he ended up getting in a choke by GSP, and he refused to tap. When you get in a choke in mixed martial, in UFC, when they've got you and you know you can't breathe, you just tap out. But we saw Conor McGregor, didn't we? Tap out straight away, gone, tapped out. No, leave me alone. We don't want to see that. We want to see someone at least try and have a go. And Bisping is such a fucking warrior. He was like, I ain't tapping out. Fuck that. And he got choked out and he was unconscious. Went out on his shield. What a guy. I can't wait to speak to him. So he will be coming on very soon. I cannot wait for that one. So that's it for another episode of Froch on Fighting. A quick Q&A for you. Thanks for getting the questions in. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, there's not a great deal going off until we get Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benton. There is a few bits and bobs happening, but nothing big really bubbling. It's all happening in the background, isn't it? With Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White, and everyone's talking what's happening with boxing. You've got Eddie Hills and Bricktop both thinking, what's happening with the sport? Where we're going? Nobody actually knows what's going to evolve, what's going to transpire from this latest hookup. All we can do is sit back and wait. But for now, this has been Froch on Fighting. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, and we'll see you very soon.